Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lillian. On this channel, I like to talk about all things astrology, spirituality, tarot. So if you are also into these types of themes, then I encourage you to please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you can be notified when I post a new video. Currently in the middle of concluding a 12-part series of all zodiac signs. I've been kind of just giving, general significations of each sign and pros and cons. After that series is done, then I will continue on to other themes. But that being said, if you are a Capricorn, then this is your video. I always encourage you guys to look at the entire chart because everybody has a different chart. If you would like to get the most accurate representation as to what your energy or personality might be like as a whole, then this is only going to be a part of that, a small piece of it. So yes, if you haven't looked into your chart, then I encourage you to do that. Some general significations of Capricorn. Capricorn is the 10th sign of the zodiac, is a cardinal earth sign, is that it's grouped in with signs like Taurus and Virgo because they're earth signs, but then as well with other signs like Aries and Libra because they are cardinal. I'm gonna see a bit of a mix of those types of energies, and I'll explain that in a bit. Well, obviously earth, like security and stable things, resources, things that you can attain here on the earth plane, whereas cardinal energy is really concerned with starting new things and seizing new opportunities. So when you put those two together, you're gonna get an energy that's very determined for not only success and security, but also one that really knows how to take advantage of new opportunities when they arise. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn in astrology. Saturn typically represents restriction in astrology. It also represents responsibility and discipline, hard work. Saturn is looked as one of the great malefics along with Mars. So they are both looked as a little bit more negative planets in charts and in astrology in general, but nonetheless, they still provide needed balance to like the great benefics in astrology, which are Venus and Jupiter. So it's kind of like, both polarities. On one side, the great benefics are all about pleasure and beauty and enjoyment, and on the other side, the great malefics are more about action and discipline and restriction. And so you can kind of see how they are very different energies, but they are needed to come together in order to bring a balanced individual. Like I mentioned, whatever the rulership of each sign is, they're going to grab a lot of those characteristics from the planet. Saturn is known as kind of like a cold planet. It's known as kind of like the old man of the zodiac. Wants to make sure that he's being responsible and paying his bills and showing up to places on time and working hard to get what he feels he deserves. This might take a lot of restriction and hard work from me, but I know that the reward is going to be amazing and worth it. So that's a very Saturnian type attitude to have. Also, though, like the time is money thing, because nobody knows how to value time and energy more than a Capricorn, I feel. The Capricorns are obsessed with organizing their lives. So biggest things that I want to emphasize about Saturn is that yes, it tends to be a little bit more cold and detached, a little bit more of a hard ass, very disciplined, good at working hard for the things that it wants, an energy that really knows how to work with difficulty and restriction. They are represented by the goat, and what I find interesting about the symbolism of the goat and how it really reflects a lot of the energy that Capricorn embodies. If you think of goats, they are one known for having very like steady feet. Well, they don't have feet, but like hooves. Their footing on things tends to be very steady and stable because they have evolved to have to climb up very high mountains that are steep and maybe not the most secure. So I find that very interesting how they've assigned that symbolism to Capricorn, because very much so that is what Capricorn does through life. They want to climb up high to great achievement. A goat, they know that like it's going to be a lot of hard work to get to the top. They know that like it does not come easy, and there's going to be some sacrifice and some discomfort that comes with getting to the top, but they know that it's going to be beneficial for their end goal and for what they need to, quote unquote, survive. And so that really coincides with Capricorn, because Capricorn is really about high achievement and recognition for that hard work, just like the recognition that comes with doing something so difficult. And I think that the goat, for that reason, really embodies Capricorn very well. Another thing about goats that kind of remind me of Capricorns is how patient they are. In order to get to where you want to be, and if it's, you know, somewhere that's high up and more, you know, difficult to get, it's not something that everybody can do, you're going to need an excessive amount of patience. Another thing that I found really funny was that although like the goat is what represents Capricorn in modern times, in ancient astrology, Capricorn is represented by the fish goat, which is really funny. Something about the goat needing to like cross waters for some reason, some type of survival reason, or it was like battling against something else and it needed to like get across water to survive. What it did was the goat recognized that it needed to be able to swim across the river or whatever body of water it was trying to get across. What it did was it actually adapted this fishtail in order to do that. I find that very interesting because it also coincides with the cardinal side of Capricorn, you know, needing to abandon old mechanisms or systems in order to seize the opportunity of new things that could bring you more of an advantage. Generally speaking, like I said, Capricorn's going to be quite reserved. They're going to be quite responsible. They're going to be quite practical. That practicality comes from it being an earth sign. Its reserved nature also comes from it being an earth sign, but I think also just not so much the earth, but more so from that Saturn energy that it gets, because Saturn is quite a serious planet. Capricorn's going to kind of seem serious. They might seem a little bit cold. They're going to be very practical. They are going to be quite organized because, again, Saturn rules over time. Capricorns are going to be very disciplined with their time and understand that literally time is money. You might notice that Capricorns have a very strong need for organization in their lives, whether it be having a planner or just, you know, having their schedule be constantly updated so that it truly reflects what their day-to-day is going to look like. That's something that Capricorns really need. Also like to see that in other people, or at least they like other people respecting the fact that they value their time so much. Extremely hardworking, and their career is honestly like their number one in life. It's almost like they know that like they're meant to do something big or meant to achieve some type of success or acknowledgement, whether or not be the success just like be acknowledged for being like really good in your field or really good at a certain thing. Their focus in life will be, they're going to be very dedicated to it. They're going to show a great deal of restraint towards things that might distract them from getting to their end goal. Or for example, you know, I personally think that most Capricorns have a focus on career, but other Capricorns, depending on their chart, might have more of an inclination towards romance, for example. So it might literally be like a mission for them to find their partner. Whatever their biggest goal in life is, it's going to be something that's going to get them recognition from others. It's going to somehow elevate them in status or in social standing. And they're just going to be very dedicated to working hard on whatever it is. And they're kind of going to have like tunnel vision towards their end goal. Capricorns, they won't be huge blabbers. They're not really too interested in chit chat. Like, they're the types that like want to cut all the bullshit and just get straight to the nitty gritty and like get down to work. Like, Capricorns love the grind. Capricorns typically are not very emotionally driven. They're more so security driven. Big thing for them is just being like honorable, like looking good in their communities. In astrology, when you're looking at natal charts, there's like an entire wheel, and it is also looked as like the highest point on the wheel, which means that that's where like you're most visible. That's the most visible energy that you bring to the world. And so Capricorn ruling that 10th house, which is right on it's called the midheaven point, which is the very top of the upper hemisphere of the natal wheel, or of the astrological wheel. That means that Capricorns are going to be concerned with a lot of 10th house significations, which embody career, reputation, social standing, how the public sees you, and so forth. Okay, so the pros of Capricorn. One thing that I don't think anybody can deny is that Capricorn is probably one of the hardest working signs of the zodiac. These are the types of people that are not going to half-ass things, again, because they really value their time. And what happens when you half-ass things? Most of the time, you got to redo them. You know, value hard work in other people, but they are never going to be as hard on others as they are on themselves. Like, that's a thing. Same with Virgos, same type of thing. Capricorn is just going to have a really amazing work ethic, and they're just going to do things up to their standard. And most of the time, those standards are pretty high. The good thing about Capricorn is that because, again, they really prioritize their time and their efforts, they are really good at organizing. They are the types that are always going to have a planner on hand, or they're always going to be the type of friend that's like, okay, let me double check my schedule. I want to like schedule things far in advance because they're not very spontaneous types when it comes to plans. Again, like I said, a quote that I think fits Capricorn perfectly is time is money, and that is why I think they're so strict with their scheduling and with their routines, but also because Saturn is a restrictive energy, and I feel like Capricorns just naturally pick up on this feeling of restraint coming from within them. And because of that, I think that that's why they really want to have everything organized, because they almost get like anxiety, feeling like they don't know how their time is going to be allocated, because they want to make sure that it's allocated appropriately and to the best of their ability. They know how to really like get serious about things and really just like put their head down when it comes to working hard, and they know that, you know, although it might suck a little bit to work really hard and restrict yourself from all this fun, know that in the end it's going to be worth it. For that reason, I feel like Capricorns are very easily admired by others because just possess this crazy amount of restriction. If they have a goal in mind, they're going to do everything in their power to make sure that that goal is attained up to their standards. And their standards are really damn high, again, because they're ruled by the 10th house in astrology and by Saturn. They and their earth energies, they really have a very strong desire for security and high achievement. Most of the time, it's not easy, right? Capricorns understand that very easily, whereas like other people might kind of expect things to just like flock to them or expect things to happen for them. Capricorns aren't the types to wait for things to happen to them. They're gonna go and make sure that they have control over how the outcome is, but the hardest thing for Capricorns is failing at something. Same with Virgos, but Capricorns big time, like they have a really hard time with failure, and they have really insulated themselves well to not fail a lot. The way that you do that is by being very restrictive with work and play balance, and teeters more on more work than leisure for the Capricorn. Capricorn knows that it needs to maintain these traits in order to keep people view of them the same. For that reason, Capricorns really know how to take responsibility, not only for their actions, but for the commitments that they've committed to. Capricorns aren't shifty at all, they're not flighty at all. Once they commit to something, like they've committed to it. Again, I think that this is why maybe sometimes a lot of them hold off on relationships, because they don't want to have to commit to another person or a family or a type of lifestyle if they feel like they cannot put their all into it. They just don't feel right doing that, and respect that in Capricorns, because they know that for the most part they're not going to sign up to do something that they can't follow through with, and kind of allows people to have this strong trust in Capricorns to do what they say they're going to do, and typically, if not always, follow through what they commit to, which I think is really nice. The thing I really also admire from Capricorns, because they want to be seen as honorable, they want to have a high status in society, they will typically go out of their way for the community. They will be very present in community affairs, or they will just be well regarded by the community and well respected. And Capricorns are very careful as well as to how they come across to other people, just like letting it all hang out type things. For that reason, a lot of people will see them as very put together, quite reserved with their opinions and whatnot. Great leaders, because they understand it takes to be successful and what it takes to put in hard work and have that actually yield results. And something that I really admire about Capricorn is their ability to separate emotions from situations. So just like that, because they're always working hard, and for the most part you need to have a very serious and unemotional approach when you are working hard all the time. When you have a certain goal that you're trying to achieve and you're trying to exercise the utmost responsibility but also restriction, emotions are your biggest enemy, because emotions come and go and they're fluctuating and they're not solid and they're shifty, and so that's something that can really not be of use to a lot of Capricorn people in everyday life, and so they choose to kind of take a more detached approach to most things. I just really admire them because they work really hard, they're very steady, they're reliable, they don't get too emotional about things. Going back to the whole like goat archetype, you know who is a Capricorn? LeBron James. And it's so funny because they call him like the goat, so That's so cheesy, but like, I don't know, I just thought that like there's no way that's a coincidence. People weren't like, oh my god, he's a Capricorn, so he's a goat. I know goat means greatest of all time, but it's just really funny, that acronym that they give that to LeBron James. But interesting, just so you know, Saturn tends to be the energy that rewards people after a really long time of hustle and hard work. And so typically you will see this like 30s and up. That's why a lot of people that might have a lot of Saturn energy or influence in their chart, you might notice that like they're just like grinding it out for a really, really long time. They know that like there is something at the end of this grind. Typically, you'll notice that they'll really like skyrocket after, you know, they hit their 30s. So I think Capricorns, like, just hang in there. You might get tired at times and you might be like, oh my god, am I doing this all for nothing? But you know deep down why you started, and keep reminding yourself of that. You might need to be stuck in this tunnel for a bit just to get to that super high goal. That's okay. Just don't lose faith. Into some Capricorn cons are being too hard on themselves, being too hard on other people, expecting too much of themselves and of others as well. These standards can go both ways. They can work really well for you, but they can also backfire. It can bring some issues with interpersonal relationships, and that's the one thing that Capricorn tends to struggle with the most. They're interpersonal, because they're not a very emotional sign, and they're a very independent sign, and they don't really feel like they need anybody. They only feel like they need themselves and their goal and success at the end of it, and they'll be happy. But the truth is, I feel like a lot of Capricorns, sometimes they cheat themselves out of happiness because their standards are too high in love, because they treat their love life like their profession, or they just don't allocate enough time and resources to those that are close to them, because they are so focused on their goals and on being the best version of themselves, and it takes away from you enjoying life and having fun sometimes and letting loose and realizing that not everything is so serious. Well, you know, you might want to keep the public at an arm's distance and not get too personal with them. It's important to learn to, you know, keep that guard down when it's those close to you and those that care about you. And Capricorn can sometimes have a hard time opening up. They are quite reserved. They're, you know, very to themselves about things very deep down, and might have a hard time expressing themselves in love. They might have a hard time allocating enough nurturing to their love life or to their friends. Let's say you're in a relationship with a Capricorn, you might feel like distant towards you, or like their work is their first love and you're kind of like their second. A lot of people are fine with that, but there are a lot of other people that don't like that at all, and they feel like love is like the most important thing that you can have in life. And like Capricorns feel that like success and hard work is the most important thing in life. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's just what you typically see with Capricorns. Their loved ones can kind of feel like they're just like being scheduled in. Capricorns have a really hard time just like putting their hair down and having fun sometimes. Saturn kind of creates this like tense energy within them that makes them either feel like they can't have fun ever and their whole life is work, and if they're not constantly working then they're a failure, or on the other side where they have this like constant tension within them and they're constantly thinking about work, constantly thinking about responsibility, constantly thinking about like all their things on their to-do list that they have to do, or about their crazy schedule. But that's another big thing you got to watch out, Capricorn. Like, you need to learn how to balance work and pleasure, and you are here to achieve great things, but you're also here to enjoy life. If you're not enjoying life, then what's the point of working so hard? Because in the end, if you're not working so hard to enjoy in the end of it, then what's the point? You know, you don't always have to like be going 125% in everything you do, because that leads to burnout. Another thing, Capricorns can be very susceptible to burnout. Their scrolling nature when it comes to their schedule and time might actually backfire on them sometimes, and it might actually keep them from enjoying things. I feel like Capricorns are the type that like plan out like the entire evening, and if the evening doesn't go entirely as planned, then they're upset. This is not every Capricorn. This is just me giving general significations and issues that could arise with Capricorns in general. But when you might notice that like when you do that, when you kind of let go of some of that control in your life, notice that that's when things fall in place the best. So back to like the whole issue with interpersonal relationships, this is like a long running joke about Capricorns, how they're the type to like not get into a serious relationship until they have figured everything out with their career and they feel like they've become successful. Living this way for so long, a lot of Capricorns might feel like, oh, I don't really need anybody else. Like, I've done it all on my own for this long and I've been fine, I'm happy. So why do I need somebody else to share my life with? Or like, why do I need love? Like, love's so overrated. And the biggest thing though, Capricorn, is that like everybody needs love. Every human needs love. It's something that nurtures them and allows them to keep going forward. And Capricorns need to come to a point in their lives where they recognize that having a relationship is actually beneficial for them and their goals, but they all fall apart. And sometimes it's nice to have somebody pick up some of those pieces and help you out when like you need to rest. Or like a lot of Capricorns feel like, oh, I'm not going to be successful if I get distracted by a relationship right now, and so I would rather just like be alone and just like put my head down and just get to where I want to be, and then maybe I'll find someone. But the issue is that like at times they can do that and turn away people that are actually really good for them or that would actually help them along their journey way more than if they did alone. Yes, it's very fulfilling to have an amazing career and to be regarded highly, but at the end of the day, like I said, everybody needs love and nurturing at the end of the day. And if you don't have that, but you are sitting in, you know, a giant house and everybody thinks that you're the shit, that only goes so deep. Click with someone, don't push them away. Like, just see how it goes. You don't have to get married and have kids right when you meet them. Just see where things go. Capricorns can come off as a little selfish to people because they're really on their time. And a lot of people don't like that because, again, it just feels like they're just fitting you into their schedule. You can see that as like selfish because it's like, okay, so you're only concerned about your goals and where you want to be. And so that's actually causing you to neglect what I need because you're so concerned about what you want and what you need to do to get here. So a lot of people can feel like Capricorns are kind of cold. They're not very sensitive to other people's feelings. They can kind of come off as selfish and like very me. Like if it's convenient for their schedule, they'll do it. But like if they have to like bend over a little bit for you, then it's like, that's not happening, sis. And Capricorns can be very like tunnel visioned with what they want. They can seem kind of like non-negotiable with things at times and my way or the highway type people. And like Capricorns just don't get that because to them it's like, it's not personal. You know what I mean? It's business to Capricorn. Like, this is my life. This is my schedule. This isn't gonna let anybody get in the way of that. But then it's like, okay, well, you're gonna have to deal with the trade-off of maybe not having anybody in your life because you're gonna have to be flexible with people. Like, that can sometimes be a little bit insensitive to people and kind of like look down on them and think that they're better than them because it's like, oh, I work so hard, oh, I do all this, blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, but like maybe what you're doing isn't healthy either. Another thing, Capricorns, they get the rep as being total workaholics. Capricorns can sometimes be called boring or just like too set in ways a little bit, as much as like a Taurus. Like, it's not like Capricorns are super stubborn, but they are very set in their ways and in their ways of doing things that they can kind of give off this stubborn energy sometimes. Like Aries, Capricorns can kind of be seen as opportunists sometimes because of that cardinal energy, right? They really know how to like spot an opportunity and seize it. And so sometimes people can also call them opportunists, but it is what it is. Yeah, Capricorns can be like a little misleading with the image that they put out to people because it's like, again, because they're so reserved, really portraying who they really are to the public, you know? Some things to watch out for. None of us are perfect, but again, these are just some negative things that can manifest with some Capricorn types. Not to say that this is going to be all Capricorns. Please do not think that that's what I'm saying. And also, same thing with the pros. Like, there might be some Capricorns that are total assholes that don't deserve any of the positive significations that I listed in the pros, or they might encompass some and then ruin it with their shitty traits, or vice versa. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I honestly really had fun making this video because I really love Capricorns and I have a lot of Capricorn friends and they were all like dying for me to make this video, so I'm happy that I finally got the chance to make it. Did them justice. I hope they all don't hate me after I go over the cons. Just know, if you're my friend, you're probably not that bad. That sounded really bad. Okay, whatever. Anyways, I'm just gonna stop talking before I like dig myself even a deeper grave. I'm just gonna throw the shovel away. So yes, my next video will be Aquarius. I'm really excited to film the Aquarius video because I really like Aquarius energy. And then after that, we're gonna be doing Pisces and then we're done. So I'm just gonna encourage you to please subscribe, like this video if you liked it, leave a comment down below, put your bell on. Appreciate all the love. I really appreciate you guys sitting and taking the time to watch these videos. It really means a lot to me. And yeah, until next time, bye guys.